talk about how the free farm stand started?
Yeah.
Out east of 82nd?
Yeah.
So basically, Adam and I are my co-volunteer for Food Not Bombs down in front of City Hall. We have been talking about doing a serving out east of 82nd for a long time, like going back this past winter. But we were using all of our efforts to serve downtown, the houseless people who were demonstrating in front of City Hall for their rights to be able to sleep and not be oppressed, and hopefully to get adequate shelter. So we were serving them, but our kitchen that we were cooking in was way out, 40 blocks on the opposite side of the river. So we couldn't really realistically recruit people from that serving to come and cook with us. In the Food Not Bombs model, what we try to do is we don't just try to, go out and give away free food, although that's kind of like what we did today.
Yeah.
But we want to do more than that. We want to actually break down the class distinction. And so when we sit behind the pots, we always invite other people who come and eat to come and sit behind the pots with us and help serve, and if they can, to come cook or help us haul food. And we do everything by bike and trailer. And so that's, if you're going to help us haul food, then you need to at least have a bike, because we do have extra trailers. But so we had the serving going on downtown. We spent a long time trying to get into a large church downtown to cook our meals. But they had a big bureaucracy. They took a long time to reject us. So finally, when they rejected us, that was the best thing that happened to us, because then we just went to the houseless camp, Right to Dream 2, who we are in solidarity with, and they're in solidarity with us, and said, hey, can we use your kitchen, which is an outdoor kitchen, to cook our meals in? And so they said, yeah, sure. And we just walked right in the fence, and I was going to say the door, but we walked to the fence because they don't have a door.
Yeah,
they actually have a lot of doors, but it's doors that are symbolic. That their privacy fence is made up of doors, and then they paint the doors with different messages to talk about housing justice. So anyway, we started cooking in this kitchen, and now we're starting to recruit people to help us from the serving. And so that's becoming more self-sustaining, and we've been able to start redirecting our efforts somewhere else. So it was about, I would say 2 months ago, we went on a scouting mission out east of 82nd to some different sites. And we picked the sites based upon a couple of things. One, there was a radio program that was talking about how there was not a lot of parks out east of 82nd, and that the Parks Department had a special playground program where they would go and set up mobile playgrounds. So we decided, and some of those programs, they don't serve free lunch. So we thought, well, we would go out and provide food for some of those programs. So we went on a bike scouting mission one Sunday. We rode all over the suburban area out east of 82nd, and I would say more like the northeast quadrant. And we went to 3 places mainly, and one of them was the Melrose Apartments, and that seemed like logistically it just looked like the best location. The other locations, one of them was right next to a grocery store, and we just felt weird, giving away food right next to a grocery store, because most people probably are just going to go to the grocery store and get their food. Then the other location was at a school, and we wanted to make gardening a part of this, because we wanted to build a relationship with people and hopefully plant a garden close by that they could actually participate in. And because the other location was at an elementary school that had a garden, we didn't want to go there either. So Melrose Apartments, there was didn't look like there was any kind of community gardens nearby. There was no farmers markets, and all the places where you would get food were all like big box stores. Some of them that are more expensive and geared more towards middle class, upper middle class type people. So that was the other radio program that we listened to. It was the same series talking about east of 82nd, but the other radio program was talking about how there was a food desert out in certain areas of east of 82nd. So this particular location, met that qualification.
That's what these guys
It was an apartment complex, and it looked like it was populated by a lot of poor families. Actually, when we went in there and we talked to the manager, they said, yes, there's a lot of poor families here. Go knock door to door. But we didn't have to do that because the kids were out playing, and we put out food the first time, maybe about 10, 11, 12 boxes. And all these little kids, actually the way it happened is I rolled in to begin to start, giving away food. And we were on our bike still. I got off my bike and I said, hey, does anybody want any food? And some people from Parks were there because they were doing the Parks program with the kids playing the games. And they said that they weren't sure if we could give them food. But they were working for Parks in a hierarchical organization where they had to do what their boss told them. And we're an autonomous, non-hierarchical organization, and we do what we think is right. Yeah, we call it what we want to, what we think is right, what we follow our conscience, and so we don't have any problem feeding hungry children. So I asked them if they wanted some fruit, and they came up kind of slowly at first. They were very shy, and they were asking for, one piece of fruit, or two pieces of fruit, and they started to gather around. And I said, let me get these boxes off of here. So I started unloading the boxes and the crates of food. And they started swarming around and taking armloads of food away. And these are like little 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old kids. When they start grabbing at food like that, they've got to be hungry. The kids were coming up and they were asking for bags, and we didn't bring bags. We asked them to go and get some of their own bags. So they went back. Of course, they had plenty of plastic bags, and their little small kids were coming up, little toddlers almost, and they were getting food and taking it back to their house. And I've got to imagine what their parents thought when they got home and where all this food come from, and these little kids having to explain it. So this was our 4th week today, and I would say the first week we took out some prepared food. We took out some tostadas with like a bean dip and some vegan cheese and some homemade salsa and some like a beet salad. It was really good. But they weren't really, I don't know if they were, for whatever reason, they weren't into the food so much. We did take some vegan ice cream, which we made, which was from like just frozen bananas and fruit and maybe some like nut milks or toasted nuts or something blended together. And they really dug that. And then maybe they just filled up on ice cream the first time. But we hauled all that food out there. We were so hungry, we ate most of the food.
Nice.
And maybe that was the second week we did that. The first week we may have just given away food, and then the second week probably was the week that we took the vegan ice cream. Then we took the vegan ice cream out there again the third week, but that time we got there later than when Parks left and they took their gazebo, so we didn't have a really good way to set it up, and the kids didn't get into a line, so it wasn't as good the second week, just because we got there late. And but then now this is our 4th week, and I noticed last week one of the girls came and said, hey, my fridge is full from last week still. So we've given them a lot of food, and they're eating free food now. They've got plenty of food, which is good. And this week we just happened, we just didn't get as many donations this week. So when we went out there, we took out less food just by default. So that's probably a good thing. And I think some less people came this time. So, we're looking at maybe going to some other apartment complexes in the neighborhood. One of our volunteers grew up in the neighborhood, so he kind of knows where some of the other places might be good to go and give away food. But what we want to do is we want to set up a garden, that people can grow their own food. We don't want to just be about like just giving away food. We want people to, have the opportunity to grow their own gardens. And so we've been talking to the manager of the apartment complex about that, and she's been saying, well, we got to talk to the property owner. He's coming back next week, so we may talk to him. When we talked to the kids the past week, they were all into the idea, but then we were talking to some of the adults who like live next door, and they were like, oh, the kids play in that area. There's like a little playground area where the playground's falling apart, and there's like a little open dirt area that we could put some raised beds with some compost in and start a garden. But the kids are all into it. The adults, not so much. They didn't seem as enthusiastic. So I think that what we want to do requires us to develop a more long-term relationship. So we may have to keep doing what we're doing for quite some time before we are able to develop the relationships that allow us to plant a garden. Mm-hmm. we may have to find a different location. We may have to serve food in multiple locations. There is a park nearby. It would be awesome to get people who are interested in what we're doing, which is primarily giving away organic produce and serving vegan food, to get them to want to come to that park. We're doing it all by bike and trailer, and me personally, I don't like organizing activities which are going to cause people to want to get in their cars and drive, because it's like, what is the use of me not driving if I organize an event where 20 people, 30 people are going to drive to it? So what's the purpose? So we're trying to be careful about that. But that's kind of where we're at right now. I think we're going to have a meeting amongst the volunteers to discuss, everything we're doing with Food Not Bombs. But this is one of 4 servings that we're doing, and we'll definitely be discussing this and looking for ways to expand or branch out so we can reach more people. So that's what's going on with East of 82nd.